Hey everyone, today I want to talk about this pedal board I'm designing or putting together, and I decided to get a Boss ES5, which is going to make things easy to use and give a lot of flexibility to the board I'm interested in making. The first thing I thought about when I got the ES5 is it has a lot of sockets on the back. So that means I need a lot of patch cables. So I went through my box of cables and I got a bunch of George L's cables in different colors, but I didn't have enough, so I thought I'm gonna have to buy some more. But while I was looking, I found there was a couple of other options, not just George L's. So while I was looking at my board, one of the things that really bothered me was the spacing between the pedals. As you can see on the board, I have a TC Electronics Sentry noise gate, an MXR Dynacomp, and a homemade Mutron clone. Just for illustration, these are all set up with some George L's cables, and the spacing between is basically the spacing on these L cables. And these are fairly small plugs and you can get the pedals fairly close together. But I was wondering if there's anything that I can get that's even smaller than that and that will help me just move things around on the pedal board that little bit easier. And also especially with the back of the ES5. Again, any plugs coming out of there, the bigger they are, the further away the pedals are going to have to be. So if I can minimize that, again, it's just going to make it a lot easier for me to move everything around and get everything where I want it to be. So I had a look on the internet and I found a couple of options. And the one I've decided to go with is a company called Free the Tone. I'll just show you a Free the Tone plug. Here we are. Not in focus. But the Free the Tone plug has a kind of W mark on it. It's a fairly small plug. As you can see, it has a screw in the side. So this is a straight plug. I'm going to show you a George L's straight plug as comparison. Okay, this also has a screw fitting in the side. If I put the two together, I think you can see there's a pretty dramatic difference between these two. Okay, the second type is the right angle plug, or the L plug, and I'll show you one of those. This one's actually on a cable. Again, it has the W on it. Now this one also has a screw in the side. Again, compare that with the George L's. Again, I'd say a reasonable amount smaller. So one thing I was thinking when I was looking at these Free the Tone plugs is I thought I've got a bunch of George L's cable, and you know, I don't want to be buying more cable if I've already got some. So I had a look at the specs in terms of the diameter and core size and so on, and it appeared that they're the same. So I took a chance and I bought the plugs without any free the tone cable, and yeah, it fits absolutely fine with George L's cable. This is George L's cable. It's got the standard George L straight plug on one end, and I put a free the tone L plug on the other end, and it works absolutely fine. Attaching the free the tone plugs to the cables is very, very straightforward. George L's, as you may know, the L type is basically a screw-on plug, which is really easy. You don't need any tools other than to cut the cable, but it can work loose. The straight plug is better in that regard because of the screw, which will hold the cable in as well as providing the ground. Although it is a straight slotted screw, which you may be able to see. And to be honest, I mostly have crosshead screwdrivers, like most people probably do. So I'm always hunting around trying to find a straight edge screwdriver if I want to use these. The free the tone uses screw fittings exclusively. These are crosshead. Okay, this is an L plug. You can see there's actually a cap on here, and the screw holds the cap on. So you need to remove this, take off the cap, push in the cable, bend it over, put the cap on, put the screw back in. Really, really simple. And it is so small. So I'm going to show you a comparison of sizes between these plugs and the George L's once they're plugged in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at here is how much closer you can get the pedals together using the free the tone plugs. As you can see here, I've got these two pedals with the George L's in between, and these two have free the tone. And while the George L's is fairly close, this is that little bit closer, and I think on a crowded pedal board, I think that's where you'll really start to notice how much easier this is going to be to get extra pedals in, or at least get them in the position that you want. Okay, this one's going to cause a problem, I can see, because of the output and the send on this side. I need to get two plugs in, so trying to get this one in and around is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So hopefully these plugs will help me out a lot there. Second thing I want to look at is on the ES5. So I've put some plugs in the back. So we have, this is a straight George L's plug. Next one is an angled George L. This is a straight free the tone. The angled free the tone is basically the same size. The only difference is the cap that goes on the top adds, I'd say, less than 1 millimeter onto the actual size, so barely anything. As you can see, again, this will allow, certainly compared to the straight plug, much more space on my board to get the pedals a little bit closer, to free up a little bit of room and move everything around where I want it to be. Okay, so I think if you're out looking for ways to wire up your pedal board, if you're looking for patch cables and plugs and so on, George L's has been sort of a fairly standard option for a while now, but there's certainly some other options out there, so I think it's worth taking a look at what's around. Free the tone, to me, the quality is fantastic and the design is excellent, so I'm certainly looking forward to wiring this thing up and hopefully showing you when it's all done. Thanks very much. Goodbye.